So for the record, my name is Jonathan Jones. It's my pleasure, my privilege to be your host and moderator for the evening. Today is July the 4th, 2023. I commend you for taking time out of your busy schedule, maybe even away from other family activities, to join us this evening for this discussion, albeit a brief, somewhat brief discussion. So let's talk a little bit about glutathione. And some of you I know quite a bit about glutathione. So I'm not going to do too much of a deep dive into it and break it down and make it too technical. This is about primarily having our discussion be at the layman level. So those of us who are average people, we can discuss it. So our disclaimer is there on the screen. So keep that in mind as we proceed forward in our discussion. So what exactly is glutathione? Because if we're going to talk about microdata being more than just glutathione, what exactly is glutathione? Well, glutathione is your body's master antioxidant. It's powerful. And, I think that this particular slide that we're looking at is an understatement, because it's more than just a powerful antioxidant that aids in body detoxification. There's some scientists who have referred to it as the master antioxidant. So we all know about vitamin C and vitamin E, and some may even know about pycnogenol and a few other important antioxidants, but many don't know about glutathione. In fact, I remember an occasion where I was at the CDC and doing a presentation. In fact, we had a booth there in between the presentations, and a woman came over to my booth. I happened to be standing there at the time, and she looked up at the sign that we had posted on the back, and it said glutathione, what you should know, why you should care, So she looked at me, she looked up at the sign, she looked at me, and she walked away. I was a little offended. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good sign, Besides, I wasn't taking it personal, but I just thought the sign was at least a little bit interested before she could get too far away. I said, excuse me, aren't you at least a little bit curious about what glutathione is? She said, yes, I am. I said, would it surprise you to find out that it's the most important molecule found in your body? She said, yes, it would. I said, do you mind if I ask you what you do for as a profession? She said, I teach science and technology at, what's that university over there near Atlanta? Whatever it was, I can't recall it right now. I need to take another brain boost. I said, are your students here today? She said, yes. I said, please don't tell them that you don't know anything about glutathione. So if you never heard of it before, don't feel bad. There are teachers in colleges that also don't have a clue of what glutathione is, because it's not mainstream discussion. It's so significant, though, that without it, we would die. And the fact that it makes that statement there, that it's a powerful antioxidant that aids in body detoxification, you better underscore that one and realize it is seriously, seriously important. It's the body's master antioxidant. Neutralizes the body from harmful free radicals and protects cells and DNA from damage. And now you notice the third bullet point there talks about liver detoxification pathways. Liver detoxification pathways. That's important to keep that in mind, because the livers are the highest sources of glutathione. And by the way, before we leave that, understand something, that glutathione is a combination of 3 amino acids: glycine, glutamic acid, and cysteine. Glutamic acid, glutamate, I think they basically refer to the same thing, cysteine. The rate limiter is cysteine. That's the one that's all but missing from our diet. The 2 G ones, glycine and glutamic acid, pretty much can get those, from our diet, from our food. So that's readily available primarily. But cysteine is all but missing from our diet. The sources of cysteine would be things like broccoli, the cruciferous vegetables, raw eggs, raw milk. And don't get me wrong, we do get some, from the cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, but to get as much as, say, 10 grams, or what you would find in a normal daily dose of, say, microdaily, you would have to consume an enormous amount of them. So, because there's just trace amounts in the diet today Back in the day when we used to get raw milk delivered to the homes, you could get quite a bit of it that way. But today, to get raw milk, first of all, you'd have to find a supplier that would sell it to you, because it's against the law to sell raw milk to you for human consumption. So you'd have to sign a declaration that you're buying this, gallon of raw milk for your cat, and then it will cost you probably $10 to $15 today with inflation, just to get that 1 gallon. And as far as raw eggs are concerned, you'd have to eat somewhere in the area of 6 or 7 dozens of raw eggs to get an appreciable dose of cysteine to elevate to therapeutic levels the amount of glutathione that you would need. There's large amounts of glutathione in the liver. So just keep in mind now, those 3 amino acids, they combine together to cause you to manufacture glutathione. Dr. Prasad specifically said, if you try to eat glutathione, it's primarily destroyed in digestion. So eating it is not the way to go. It's destroyed in digestion. The best way to get glutathione is to eat the precursors to glutathione, have your body make it. So another benefit to glutathione is, we talked about this detoxification, detoxifying things out of the body. Well, look very carefully at what kinds of things we're talking about detoxifying. Look very carefully at the kinds of things. Now, nothing that does not belong in our body, we don't want anything there that's not supposed to be there. But you want to know what you really don't want to have in your body? What you don't want to have in your body is metals that don't belong there. That's 100% for sure. So you want that out. I just asked the people over at Flint, Michigan, how fond they are of having lead in their drinking water. So, but if you have something in there that is not supposed to be there, not good. Glutathione is responsible for that. Detoxifying it out of your body is glutathione that can bind the heavy metals and remove them from the body. But most other toxins, it can convert them to water-soluble compounds, and they can be excreted through the urine and through the bile. So in other words, if it's not supposed to be in your body, it needs to go out through the front or through the back. It needs to find a pathway out. So that is the case, and glutathione facilitates that. So toxins as well, especially toxins and things that end up in the liver. The best example of that is if a person would accidentally overdose on acetaminophen and alcohol, that goes straight to the liver. The number one way that folks accidentally overdose on, accidentally commit suicide is that they accidentally overdose on acetaminophen and alcohol. This is over in England. So they'll go out drinking. This is, London. They'll go out drinking, get drunk, get a headache, have a hangover, start taking Tylenol. And by the time they come to the realization, they've consumed an entire bottle of Tylenol. So if they can get to the hospital, the doctor will say, okay, well, how long ago did you consume this? And if you say, well, just a couple of days ago, then the doctor will say, good, because if it had been longer than 72 hours, update your will. So, but the doctor will say, okay, good, because now you can survive it. Because what they'll do is they will go and get an IV bag of, wait for it, N-acetylcysteine, and they'll stick it in your arm. And they'll drip this N-acetylcysteine into your system. You know why? Because it's going to raise glutathione lymphocytically, but most importantly, in your liver. So it's going to bind it, and as glutathione is binding to those harmful toxins, it's trying its best to get rid of them. Now, the downside of it is that it will, generally speaking, overwhelm the detoxification pathways, and that will lead to some side effects. In fact, one of the side effects of that process is a person will throw up quite violently. But, survive, damaged liver, throw up, usually that's a fairly acceptable trade-off for the most part. But anyway, just understand something. It is removing those toxins, and it's got to leave the body. So the elimination pathways through the front and through the back is completely overwhelmed. So there's only one other way out of the body, and that's the way that it goes. It just throws it right up and out. So the third benefit to glutathione is this support for the immune system. The physician's desk reference has an insert and a paragraph in one of those inserts for a nutraceutical. It says that glutathione promotes the monoclonal expansion of T cells. What does that mean? Monoclonal expansion of T cells. What that means is that when you have glutathione in your body, it helps the body to make more T cells and these NK or natural killer cells as well. And those are very important when it comes to eliminating pathogens and abnormal cells. Critically important component to the immune system. Critically important. In fact, a person who has the HI virus, the one that leads to AIDS, they measure the progression or the recession of the disease by the amount of T cells in the body. So if a person has low T cells, they know that the disease is advancing. If the person has high T cells, they say that the matter is under control. And often with high T cells, the presence of the virus will be undetectable, generally speaking. And because normally a virus hides itself inside a normal cell, and that's why it will be undetectable. They don't say that a person is free of HIV. They said it's undetectable. It's undetectable. And the reason it's undetectable is because though the virus itself can hide inside a normal cell. And if it's hiding there, it's just waiting for opportunities to replicate. Usually it replicates, kills the cell, and quickly goes and tries to find its way to another cell so that they can continue to replicate. But that's where the T cells and these NK cells come into play. Because see, a T cell can brush up against a healthy cell, a normal healthy cell, not an abnormal cell, a normal healthy cell, and detect there's something hiding in there. There's something that's not supposed to be there. The HI virus is hiding there. A T cell can inject that cell, trigger apoptosis, destroy the cell, and destroy the virus. That's why T cells are so important. And then, of course, the NK cells running around trying to kill any that escape. So you want your immune system working on your side. Glutathione is a critical part of those cells being at play and very active. One other thing that glutathione does is it protects the organs. So if there's toxins, pollutants, and otherwise affecting the lungs, glutathione binds to those toxins, those pollutants, and removes them from the system. It supports the digestive system. And again, remember that part about removal of heavy metals such as mercury, lead, cadmium. So all of those things is attached. Glutathione will bind to them and remove them from the system as waste. Glutathione is critically important. And then the final area that we will touch on, that we touched on with this matter of glutathione, is it helps the brain remain healthy. So it promotes the immune system of the brain. The brain has its own immune system. So it protects the central nervous system, protects neurons, promotes cognitive health, helps remove metabolic waste from the brain. Metabolic waste from the brain, keep that in mind, because amyloid and amyloid plaque is also a waste product that needs to be removed from the brain. And anything having to do with cytokines, cytokine storm, and chemokines, those things need to be removed from the brain. Otherwise, they can trigger in themselves an overimmune reaction and promote inflammation, and you don't need that in the brain. So glutathione, critically important to overall brain function and detoxification. So Dr. Prasad stepped in and just filled in several of the gaps there, most of it very, very technical when it comes to this, because glutathione, without glutathione, the whole interaction with the antioxidant system, with exogenous antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, CoQ10, the whole interaction there is disrupted if it were not for glutathione being in place. It's a critical and important component to it. And this is the part that Dr. Prasad really broke down, I think, very nicely for us when he talked about the exogenous antioxidants. And they're all identified here on the screen because these aren't antioxidants that your body makes. The only one that your body makes is glutathione. Okay, but all the others have to come in from the outside. They're mostly diet derived or through a supplement like we have right here. Very important. Now, not enough can be said about NRF2 and the role that NRF2 plays in the body. And I think it was Edward Thompson that said that Dr. Prasad got really heady and deep when it came to speaking about this NRF2. But all that Dr. Prasad said about it translates into extension of life. And the extension of life, keeping telomeres in place. The faster telomeres are shaved off, the shorter our lifespan. NRF2 slows down the loss of telomeres because a little bit of our telomeres is shaved off every time cells replicate. NRF2 slows that process down. And then NRF2 is critically important with the communication between the cells. So just keep that in mind when focusing in on that benefit that's mentioned. And there are 4 different ways that microdaily activates NRF2. 4 specific ways that's mentioned: vitamin E succinate, CoQ10, alpha-lipoic acid, and N-acetylcysteine. All of them working hard when it comes to oxidative stress. All of them working hard when it comes to that. But in addition to addressing oxidative stress and free radical damage, they're also working to activate NRF2, the very foundation, in my opinion. And I think Dr. Prasad was trying to make it very clear for us, the foundation of life. Then he also talked a lot about methylated Bs. Now, there's one component in the original formula had a tiny bit of cyanide in it. And this tiny bit of cyanide was so minuscule that it was less cyanide that you would find, what did he say, in an apple? I think it was an apple that he mentioned. An apple would have like 300 micrograms of it, but in microdaily, it was like 1 or 2 micrograms. It's a minuscule amount in a particular B vitamin that was used. But because folks were just so highly up in arms about it, because it's not that it was harmful or toxic in any way, shape, or form, it's a part of the B vitamin. But for those whose bodies cannot methylate it properly, which can really, truth be told, be any one of us. And I'll tell you the reason why this is not mentioned on Sunday. But one of the downsides of genetically modified foods, GMOs are involved, but specifically glyphosate, weed killer, is it blocks methylation pathways. It can disrupt methylation pathways. So the more weed killer that we have in our diet, the greater the chances are that we are not able to methylate B vitamins. Dr. Prasad mentioned that the B vitamins are very important when it comes to the central nervous system. Very important. And if you have been watching the news, or if you're doing any research of any kind and paying attention, people who are suffering with long COVID are experiencing neurological issues, nervous system issues. So their nervous system is being affected. So the one thing that you want is for your entire nervous system to work properly. So methylated Bs is very, very important. CBD is good too, because it helps to ameliorate anxiety on so many different levels. But That's what Dr. Prasad did. And Dr. Prasad went on and added in 4 additional components to microdaily to come up with the formula microdaily EMF. Now, one of the patents on the original formula prepared for the military involves the protection of cells from DNA, the DNA of the cells from damage from low-dose ionized radiation. That's a patent. It actually says that in the patent, that's one of the things that the original formula, MMF, military micronutrient formula, accomplished. But Dr. Prasad realized that with 5G technology, the amount of radiation and exposure that we're going to receive is much, much higher. Remember now, this man is the world's first radiation biology PhD. So he's aware of the impact of radiation. So he decided to add 4 more ingredients to give our bodies 4 additional levels of protection from radiation. That's why the EMF formula is so important. And we're fortunate to be able to have it now at a discount price. Tomorrow, by the way, is the last day to get this discount. I can't even believe that they brought it back. But they decided that some folks who really, really wanted it, apparently were not aware of it at the end of the month. So they decided to take a 3-day span here, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, to allow folks another chance to buy the special, buy 2 and get 1 free, essentially making the EMF Hydro, the new EMF Hydro formula, brings it down to $55 a box for a month's supply, which is just absolutely staggering. It's amazing that that's the case. So moving forward, and this is just to recap what was discussed last week. Don't fixate on this too much, but folks have expressed appreciation for being made aware that it's possible for the body to experience a detox reaction, because what I mentioned earlier about detoxing the liver from alcohol and acetaminophen overdose, that is one of the most extreme examples of detox. So there can be any level of detox reactions from there, and it's called Herxheimer effect. So it's specifically triggered when the body's detoxification process is overwhelmed. So during that time period, stored toxins are released faster than they can be eliminated. And that's what leads to the toxins building up in the bloodstream. So those toxins that are being ripped from their post, just lodged from their post, they're trying to be passed out of the body as waste. And you see it's in the blood. In the blood, the kidneys handle that, the liver handles that, and then, or somehow they need to make their way into the lymphatic system. Once those pathways are overwhelmed, the blood gets thick and it goes really, really slow, and it can cause all kinds of issues. Then Dr. Prasad mentioned 2 weeks ago that the immune system, now realizing that these toxins are there, the immune system kicks in and now creates an inflammatory response. And that reaction itself exacerbates the entire thing and makes the whole situation even worse. Here's just a short list of the potential reactions that a person can have as their body is detoxing. I'm most familiar with the skin rash thing because as soon as I started taking microdaily, I developed a rash under my tricep. Strange, it made no sense, but it moved slowly from there. It just seemed to transfer right across my chest and over to my tricep on the other arm. So it was really strange. It didn't make any sense to me, but that's what happened. For other people, they will experience muscle joint pain. The most common is fatigue and headache. So fatigue usually sets in because finally the brain is starting to reconcile things, especially if you start sleeping deeper. And many folks experience deeper sleep when they start taking microdaily products. But it is possible to get a headache, and that's primarily because, as I mentioned before, the blood is thicker. It's got all these toxins in it, and now it doesn't flow as freely. The oxygen is not getting where it belongs to quite as readily. So, is there a way to take the edge off of this. And digestive disturbances, I told you about that. The worst case was, detoxifying the liver and the person just violently vomiting. So that can happen. So the ways to ameliorate these effects is to drink plenty of water. And by the way, the Dr. Prasad's probiotic boost is another outstanding way, especially when it comes to the gut. So get that probiotic boost in the gut, and that will help with pretty much most digestive disorders that a person might be experiencing once they start to detox. So drinking plenty of water, light exercise is important, getting plenty of rest, give your body time to recover, and stay as positive as you possibly can. Don't think negative thoughts. If you got negative thoughts coming up in, you need to practice refocusing. The glass is not half empty, the glass is half full. So make yourself become an optimistic person rather than a pessimistic one. Become an optimistic person. Focus on that. And it takes meditation, which means taking an inventory of the good things that's happening rather than fixating on the things that are not going quite so well. So those are some of the ways to deal with Herxheimer effect and detox reaction. So when it comes, the bottom line is get back with the person who invited you, and they can help you to get yourselves started. But take advantage right now of that special that's taking place. Right now, take advantage of that. And don't forget, by the way, there's a number of important events taking place this week. There's no, Dr. Court is not having a meeting tonight, but next week on Tuesday, Dr. Court has a meeting, usually Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. So that's right after this meeting here is concluded for those who would like to. But this week, tomorrow night, ask Dr. Prasad. So that's an opportunity to speak directly to Dr. Prasad and ask questions. And then this coming Sunday, we're focusing in on diabetes, folks. We're focusing in on diabetes. Did you know that they're projecting that by the year 2050, the number of diabetics in the world is going to double? It's going to go from the 500 and some billion, 500 some million now, I think it's 560 some million, to 1.2 billion people they're projecting to have diabetes. In this country right now, there's about 130 million who either have diabetes or who are heading in that direction. And they expect that to be significantly higher in the next 5 years or so. So it's a huge number of people with diabetes right now. So how can you win? How can you live with it? How do you exist? Is there something that you can do to help your body to deal with that horrible, horrible disease? And as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the most dreaded conditions known to man. It's taking out a lot of people prematurely. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. And let's see if there's any questions or issues that someone would like to particularly address that was not quite so clear from last week or from tonight. Anything in particular that jumped out, that just did not quite ring clear? Or are we good? Microdaily takes health and wellness to a whole nother level, folks. That's really the bottom line to this. It's a whole nother level. Remember, this was never intended for us. It was never intended for the general public. And so we're very fortunate to even have it. Did you guys see that the story that was shared with us this past week, where Dr. Linda Gregerson did a live blood cell analysis, and she showed the slides from her, I think it was her daughter, and the changes that her daughter experienced when just taking, and after 20 minutes of just taking microdaily EMF. So let me see if I can find a portion of that story. So we have a few extra minutes here, and we'll play that before we conclude our discussion for today. How about that? So give me 1 second here.
So, Linda, if you can just share with us a little bit of the background here, and then I'm going to pull some pictures that you have shared up on the screen. So just like we did previously, I've got the 2 before pictures and then the one after, and then we've got a whole nother slide deck that is those 2 pictures side by side with the dried blood. So
right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm a naturopath. I'm in Idaho Falls, Idaho. And a lot of the things that we do is to help people balance their body, because a balanced body heals itself. So we use the microscopic, it's called microscopy, and we look at people's live blood as it's working right then. And then we dry the blood, and the way that the blood dries, different enzymes tells us a lot about what's going on in their body. We can find anything from heart sign to lymphatic problems to absorption to all kinds of different things that we can see in the blood. It is a proven practice. They've been doing this for years. And you just can't argue with live blood that's right in front of you. And we do it so that people can see the live results right then. Well, my daughter's allergic to the capsules that are on the microdaily EMF. I haven't checked her blood for a long time, but she happened to be here yesterday. And I took her blood, and as her mom, I just started to cry. It's really bad. So put the first 2 slides on. This is what we saw. The first slide that you will see there is extremely bad EMF. She lives in Oregon, but she works in Boise. They're just right there on the border, and a lot of EMF around her. I've got her stuff protected as much as I can, but it's just not enough with all the towers. And you can see how the blood cells are sticking together. When they do that, when blood goes through your system, and it needs to go through the microcirculation. Okay. So as your blood needs to go through this microcirculation, it has to go through one cell at a time. And if it's not going through one cell at a time, you're not getting the food in or the garbage out. And with it all coagulated, it's really hard to see. So on the first one, you can see the cells are so stuck to each other. There's no way that's getting in her circulation. She has severe autoimmune. She is barely eating. She's really sick. And that's one reason she came in. On the second slide, it's just another view of the same drop of blood. You can see it's all relayed. But the scary thing about that one, which was in the other one too, but they were so stuck together you couldn't see it, is how misshapen every cell is. They look like water bombs. They look like spiked balls in there. Very few of her cells looked normal. Maybe 10% of all of her blood looked like it had looked normal. They all looked like donuts, which is malnutrition, low B vitamins or low iron. They were all misshapen. And it was really scary for me as her mom to see that. Any patient, this would have scared me, but having be my own daughter was really bad. So we gave her 2 of the micro dailies because I wanted her to try it to see if she could take them now. She tasted it. It didn't bother her. She waited a minute. She drank the whole thing. And 15 minutes later, we checked her blood again because I wanted to see what it would do, never expecting what I'm seeing on this next slide. So here's the after slide. If you look at it, and I mean, I could have taken 15 different pictures of it. You can see the cells are round. They're less stuck together. There's a couple in there that are still stuck, but they're not stuck like they were before. This means that she started getting immediate hydration. She started getting immediate delivery to other parts of her body because it could get into the microcirculation and it could do what our blood's meant to do. So this was all really fun. And I did this while I was doing the call earlier today at 1 o'clock. My Janice does a lot of my blood work, and she was there doing someone else's blood. So we decided to see what it would do if we dried the blood and see what the differences are, because we didn't think to do that yesterday. So while I was on the call, she was doing that. I walked in as soon as we hung up and she said, look at this. And so put the new slides on, the first one or both. Okay, so the one on the left, I circled it and you can see those white spots in there. That can indicate a major amount of cellular declines. It might, sometimes that shows up as cancer, major inflammation. It does definitely show a degenerative disease. This lady has been pre-diagnosed by an oncologist with cancer, and she's been coming in for body balancing. So she took it. 15 minutes later, we took and did the same slide, and the entire patch of blood on that looks like that second picture, the after. It immediately changed how the blood was drying, even in her body. This is huge because we usually wait 2 to 3 weeks to see any kind of a difference at all. I was in shock that we were able to do that. So I didn't send all the slides, but we did it with 2 other people that were there too, and I'm getting the same results. So if this can make that big of a change in your body in 15 minutes, what's it going to do if you're drinking it all day long? If you're taking it every day for the next 10 years, it's got to help all of those degenerative diseases. It's got to help that autoimmune that I've been seeing in the blood. I am so excited to see what this looks like in 24 hours or 48 hours or 2 weeks. I just have never seen results like this as long as I've had my practice.
Well, there you have it. That's that's pretty amazing. And that's how good microdaily EMF is. That's how's the expression go, Edward? That's how we roll. So it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. You rolling back in time, Jonathan. That's an old one.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. Sometimes it just comes back up. I should have chased down that brain boost while we were doing the video. So there you have it, folks. That's a mouthful. So that's all we're going to share for this evening. So if you're here for the first time, just get back with the person who invited you, and they will help you. If you would like to see the entire presentation, just look on your screen. If you're on a computer, you see up at the top of the screen, it says YouTube. I believe you can click on that and go to live on YouTube, and then now you have the link. So that would take you directly to the recording for this discussion, or just go to my YouTube channel. It's youtubejonathan.com, and then you can hear the entire replay there. So if there are no other questions, it's your last chance. See if there's any questions anyone has. This is your opportunity. Just take a lap. The one thing that people always seem to ask is, or there always seems to be a recurring question about, about how much water is the right amount of water. And take your body weight and cut it in half, and that's the correct amount of water to drink. So half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, it would be good if you drank 75 ounces of water per day. So that's the correct amount to help your body to deal with the aftermath of the toxins. And go ahead, Ed, with your question, please.
Well, it's not a question. It's just an experience for myself. I know a couple of weeks ago you were talking about how medications affect, how microdaily affect medications in your body. And I wanted to tell you, but I didn't get a chance that day. Once upon a time, not so long ago, Tylenol had no effect on my body. I could be one of those drunks over in England that could take a whole bottle of Tylenol and had no effect on me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take a leave, or those old-fashioned goody powders.
Yes,
which ain't good for you. Since I've been on the EMF, I can't take a leave. I can't take the goody powders. They're too strong for me.
Wow.
One Tylenol, not two. One Tylenol does everything I needed to do if and when I need something done.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing, Edward.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So it sounds like you have reached a level where you've detoxified a great deal of substance from your body, that you now are, your whole system is cleaner, so that you can respond to just one Tylenol when in the past nothing, there was no amount that would have an impact on you. Wow.
Right. So I just want to let you know, I didn't get a chance to say that during that meeting. You had a lot of comments, so I said, well, that's not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. That adds to our knowledge base and our reservoir of amazing experiences with this incredible product.